Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to another edition of the Seattle Investors Club podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I have my co-host, Julie Clark. How you doing, Julie?
Ni hao.
Ni hao. Oh, my
I'm just kidding.
gosh.
What's up?
I remember trying to learn, was it Mandarin? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, when I went to China. It was hard.
Yes, that's about all I know.
Yep, that was about all I got to. Today, we're going to be talking about you've closed a few deals, now what? It's kind of like you've gotten that hustle down. Hopefully you listened to us and you didn't go out and spend too much time buying all of the fancy things, and you just put your head down and you got a few deals done. So the question is, you've got some money in the bank, and what do you do at that point? How do you continue to improve your systems? How do you think about putting more people on your team? That kind of stuff. And I'm going to start off by telling you guys a little bit of a story on the first time that I had this feeling or this happened to me in my business. And it was actually when I was in Costa Rica. I was down in Costa Rica on vacation, and my business partner at the time had said, I think we're going to close a big wholesale. And it was a wholesale we've been working on for a while. And I got the Skype message or whatever from him and said, hey, we just closed our $25,000 wholesale deal. And it was one of those times where you're like, holy smokes, we've been working really hard and we've done a few deals, but that was a pretty big one at that time. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is going to work. We can do this. So much fun. What are we going to buy? And I remember the thing that I wanted to buy at that point was a CRM or customer relationship management tool called Infusionsoft. That's how much of a geek I am.
Let me back you up for 1 second, Joe.
Yeah.
So you got the word from Eric, right? It was Eric. You got your big wholesale fee and you're in Costa Rica, right?
Yep.
I want to know what you did that night in Costa Rica. What did you do? Anything? Did you have an extra power bar or anything like that? What happened?
That's a good question. I was actually in Manuel Antonio on this cool little suite thing that was overlooking the ocean that my buddy down there hooked me up with. And I think that I actually just went out to dinner rather than going to the market and putting together my own food and whatnot. I splurged and I went and got, I actually remember the meal. It was this taco salad thing that they had.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say it was a salad. Damn it. I knew you were going to say that. I would have had the biggest burrito, but no, not Joe. He has the salad. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. I had the taco salad and it was really good. I do remember it. It was very good. It was this open air restaurant that looked out over the ocean. It's good stuff. But I was the most excited about Infusionsoft, believe it or not.
I believe it.
Because the things that I want to emphasize here are that, you don't need all of these things to do deals. But when you have a few deals under your belt and you've made some money, then you can use the tools in order to make more money faster and really focus in on what you think you should be doing as far as spending your time in order to continue growing your business. And some of the things that we're going to talk about today are things like CRMs or customer relationship management tools, because you've got some money in your bank now and maybe you've used just a notepad to start with or a spreadsheet. And that's how we recommend doing it, is using free tools when you getting started in order to get that hustle on and get some deals done. And then once you have the deals done, then let's get more sophisticated. And I'm going to actually be listing out a bunch of tools that I've used and we've used, and that, some of them even that we haven't used, but you might want to look into. So I'd recommend taking notes or definitely checking out the show notes if you want to get links and things like that to things that we're talking about on this podcast. And the show notes are over at seattleinvestorsclub.com/25. That's seattleinvestorsclub.com/25. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the CRM and some ideas for CRM, because at this point, when you've made the money, you're going to have to start turning up your marketing and getting more people into your pipeline. And you need to make sure that your follow-up system is legit. Follow-up is everything. Wouldn't you say, Julie?
The old FU is number one with me, Joe.
Heck yeah. FU. Let's get that FU. The first and most basic CRM that we have used and that I know people are using is just something like a note-taking app like Evernote. You can do that. You can set up reminders. It is not the most sophisticated, but it's free. It's easy to use. It's not much of a powerful CRM. Okay, so that's one that we've used that you could go to. Maybe you're familiar with it. You don't want to spend much money on it yet because it's actually a free tool. The next one that I've used a lot and that we still use, although it's not something that we use necessarily in our real estate side of the business, is Infusionsoft. You can use it in the real estate side of your business. It's very powerful. It has a bunch of workflows in there, but I don't necessarily feel like it is the best for a transaction-based real estate business. It's more like if you're managing email lists and that's going to be the way that you're going. We use it as an add-on for some of our real estate stuff, but mostly for the real estate club and how we manage the lists and the events and things that we're doing within that to make sure that people are getting drip email campaigns, that there is some follow-up stuff, but it's mostly around the email-based and opt-in based, so like forms on your website type of a business strategy. The next one is Podio, and that's what a lot of people are calling the most popular thing right now, at least in our circles. That's what we're hearing about. And with Podio, you can basically do whatever you want to, but that's kind of like the blessing and the curse with Podio, is that because you can do pretty much anything you want, it stumps people a lot of times. Like I have an email in my inbox right now from somebody that's asking me for just some direction, because you start with this blank slate and you don't know, like, should I have the name first, or should I have, how motivated they are first, or should I have their phone number second or email second, and should I have, tasks or whatnot. You have to design that all yourself. So if
Note to self, Joe, that's a good podcast topic. Let's do a podcast on Podio and just walk through a basic setup.
I like it. We should do it. Ooh, we will do that.
Good one.
Make a note of it. So if you're the type of person that has that vision, it can be really good to just go open up a free Podio account, start building it out and moving down that lane. Something that we use though is Investor Fuse, which is kind of like a bolt-on to Podio. It does cost money, so you have to be prepared to pay monthly fees for that. But if you are going to have a lot of leads and need to do a lot of follow-up and like the automated processes that can be built into a CRM, Investor Fuse might be something that you should look into.
Is it accurate to say that you don't need Investor Fuse, but if you're like the techie, you like that techie stuff and you're really jamming and you want to perfect your systems because you enjoy that stuff, and obviously it's important at a certain point that Investor Fuse is the way to go, but Podio would be fine for the basics, right?
Yeah, I think that we could maybe even come up with like a number of leads per month that you're getting that would be like a threshold. I'm not sure what that is, but I bet there would be a point at which it would be nice. It's more of like a time saver, I think.
What about how many Podio is free up to what? 5 people?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. 5 people.
Yep. And then they start charging you. I'm not sure what the price is on that. And I think that Investor Fuse, don't quote me on this, I think it's like $200 a month at this point. Mm-hmm. To have that bolted on. So imagine that you have a few people working for you, and then you have Investor Fuse at $200 a month, which $200 a month for a CRM is pretty ballpark, I think, these days. It's not excessive.
But let's put it into perspective. I mean, it is somewhat time consuming, right? Don't be surprised. I mean, it does take a minute to get all this stuff set up, right?
Heck yeah. Yeah. Especially like both systems, right? If you just got Podio, you're going to spend hours setting that up, trying to figure out what
Worth it though. Worth it.
Worth it. Yeah, totally worth it. And this is, in that time where you've done a few deals and you have the ability to kind of sit back for a second and maybe spend a week building this out as you're slowly chugging through the deals that you're continuously working on. But, it's the planning for doing more and more. And then I think so that was like, you have to set up your basic Podio, but then if you're going to use Investor Fuse, I think that you still have quite a bit of time that you have to commit to learning it, because it's not all that, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's all that user friendly. Would you, Julie?
Well, let's be honest, Joe, I don't have a clue. I just, I look at everything. I have no idea how everything works, because you handle that whole side of our business. And I thank you for that, because I am not a tech person at all. So you're asking the wrong cat here. The number one thing to me in Podio or Investor Fuse, and I don't know which side it's on, is I like the ability to set tasks.
Yep.
That is life-changing right there. The tasks to set reminders to follow up. And then just the fact that everything's all housed in one place, our appointment setting. And, for us, the texting, is really a great add-on, I think, for our business, because I think they say like at least 60% of people text, right? I mean, I don't know what the stats are on that, but I enjoy those plugins. And I'm sure a lot of CRMs allow you to set tasks, but, I don't ask me, but it is awesome. Let's put it that way.
I'm with you. I completely agree. And I think the task things are probably the most beneficial part of it. And then adding the add-ons, like you said, like the text and email that can go right through the system.
Just as a side note, everybody, if you guys don't know who Julie and Joe is, I'm Julie, and you're also talking to my partner, Joe. And we have absolutely different disciplines and roles within our business. And that's what is so awesome about our team. Because, I don't have to think about any of that stuff. And I'm the real estate head, and he is the everything else head, and allows me to focus on deals. And then there's things that we absolutely collaborate and share ideas on. But we have separate roles and separate disciplines, and there's no real duplication in any of our efforts. So when you guys are thinking about partnering, and which you should, because you can't do it alone. So you need to go find a partner. Just be aware that the partner you should be looking for is not the person, if there's a real estate person already that loves that side, go find yourself a marketing partner. Go find yourself a, contractor partner, even though some people say they don't like to partner with contractors. I think everything, and, I don't want to, no generalizing. We don't do that around here. So, just the beauty of thinking about, if you're like listening to Joe here and you're like, oh God, that's not gonna, honestly, I was doing my own thing. I've been doing this a long time, and was doing my own thing before I met Joe. And I was absolutely totally limited. Not only was I limited in my wholesaling business, but I even had a real estate related startup and stuff that got some serious traction before I met Joe, and 100% I was limited in what I could do because I didn't know the tech side. And so having a tech and I didn't even think about marketing, I'm just 100% real estate head here. And now I'm actually both more into marketing because Joe taught me after hanging out with him for so many years. But you guys get my point. Go find a partner, or, I'm using the word quote partner, however you want to set things up, and scale with somebody else on your opposite skill set.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, Julie's completely right. I get to totally geek out on this stuff, as you guys can probably tell. And I don't work at all really in the real estate side of things, except for maybe some systems that we can put together to make the flow of the real estate deals work better. And this is my passions on this technology and marketing side of things. And and Julie's is in the real estate. And it's so cool to be able to build a business and be firing on both sides of this and checking in and seeing where we're at and collaborating and knowing that each person is doing what they really like to do.
I love you, man.
Oh, I love you too. So let's see, where were we? We're doing some investor fuse, some Podia. So I don't think investor fuse is that user friendly, but it's really powerful if you take the time to kind of dig into it. And I think that it can be easier to use, and I wouldn't want to scare anybody away from it. Anybody can learn how to use it. It's just know that it's going to take a little bit of time of banging around and figuring out how to get it to work, because once you do, it's really powerful. So enough on that. Real flow is something that I know a lot of people have recommended or used, especially if you're in the Fortune Builders crowd. I haven't used it for quite a while, but I just wanted to mention it here because I didn't want people to be like, what about Real Flow? And I'm like, well, I know they have a marketing side and they allow you to grab some lists in there and some sort of, contact management. But I don't know enough about it, and I haven't heard people say enough great things about it for me to be like, oh, we need to drop everything and take a look. But that being said, maybe they've had some really huge leaps forward, and they could. I know they have some really powerful people that we like a lot behind that software. So if you have anything to add to that, I'd love to hear about it, actually. And I'd love it if you put it in the comments so that everybody could see it. And the comments are at seattleinvestorsclub.com/25. Next up is a quick tip. Make sure that you have some understanding of how your CRM does work. So when you go down the road of actually bringing people onto your team, so for example, we have a awesome call person that does a lot of work within our CRM, and I do some work in there. Julie does some work in there. But we have a basic understanding, at least one of the partners, not to say that Julie doesn't have a basic understanding of this, but I did a lot of research and figured out how it worked in depth. And I don't necessarily think you have to do it in depth, but I think you need to understand how it works when you bring somebody or before you bring somebody onto your team, so that you're just not completely taking their word for it. You have to at least kind of know how it works on your own first. And I would even guarantee that Julie knows more of how it works than she will lead on to. So when you bring, the next step is like, now that you've had some success, it's really good to step out of the roles that you don't think are serving you the best. So a interesting or awesome example of that is what Julie had earlier. Like, Julie loves the real estate side of things. I love the technology and marketing side of things. But sometimes you don't have that quote unquote partner or actual business partner that comes into play. But that doesn't mean that you don't need those things. Like, if you don't like to do marketing or technology side of things, you can hire somebody to do that. And you shouldn't slow your business down because you're having to get into those particular types of things. And you should just go ahead and hire somebody.
But yet that is exactly what happens to people.
Yep.
They get inconsistent, particularly in regards to their marketing.
Yep.
And that's where they fail.
100%. And I remember when doing business with Eric, we did that because we were both trying to do the same thing, and it didn't work very well. We'd both try and go on appointments. We'd both try and do marketing. We'd both try and, because we thought that was how it worked, and we were naive. We didn't understand it at that point. And it would happen where we'd do a bunch of marketing and deals would come in, and we'd stop marketing and we'd focus on the deals. And then next thing you know, we'd done a couple of deals, but we had no more leads.
Joe, have you actually ever seen any of the properties that we have bought and sold in person? I don't know. I love it. I haven't even seen some of them because we've bought in a handful sight unseen, but I don't know. Have you actually, I'm just thinking, like, which one have you actually been to? I think you went to one that we sold to Dan Wick way early. Remember we did the video?
Yes. I was trying to think. I was like, I think
that was like one of our first few deals.
Yeah, you're right. Was that in Shoreline or something?
It was like, out in Roosevelt, somewhere like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Memories.
One deal. I think you're right.
in like 5 years.
Oh man, that's funny. And I tell people that sometimes at the events. I'm like, I don't see any of our deals, and they're like, what? They can't believe it. I'm like, no, I don't. I haven't even been to one. I was like, I go out and I find, houses to send mail to. Like I run around and send postcards out one off, when there's houses that have like broken roofs or look like they're dilapidated or whatnot. I'll send them postcards, but that's the last that I see of it.
I mean, and on the flip side, I've never, ever, I don't think I've ever logged into our Infusionsoft account ever.
Nope. I don't think so either. But when I log in and I look at our users, I see your name there sometimes. It's all good. It's all good. So basically what, getting back to it is like you shouldn't slow yourself down. You should go ahead and hire people that can do things that you're not interested in doing or that you're not good at, or even that you just need help with. And you'll get to some points in your business where you might just need help, and that will help you like continue to move forward. And it's even hard on that quick little topic is that sometimes you do need help to do things that you like to do in order to continue moving forward. And it's okay to let go of things. I know that a lot of us entrepreneurs can be controlling because we've had to do a lot of this stuff ourselves, and we feel like somebody can't do it as good as we can. But the truth is that those people, if we give them the chance, they could probably do it just as good, if not better than we can. We just have to make sure and train them and let them know, communicate really well with what we're looking for, and give them the opportunity to go beyond that.
Word.
So some places that we've had success finding people, first off, a lot of stuff you can get done with virtual people. I know we have virtual people on our team, VAs. I know a lot of other investors and entrepreneurs that use VAs a lot. And some places that we use to find these VAs are Fiverr is the first one that I listed here, and that's fiverr.com. This one is great because, as the name states, it starts off at $5. So we'll get like logo design, we'll get like intro and exits to our podcast, for example. We'll get, and kind of image stuff that we need enhanced, or, ideas, or marketing materials. If you're doing video marketing, you get all kinds of this cool stuff there. And that's like for one-off, usually, types of or things that you could buy. The next up is Virtual Staff Finder, and I've used them what they do is you tell them what you're looking for, and then they pick, or they do interviews for you within their virtual staff system, and then they give you, I think it's 3 candidates that you actually get on a Skype call with and interview, and they should be already vetted for what you're looking to accomplish, and they know how to do that, and then you just pick the one that you want, and there you go. It takes a lot of the hard work out of the system for hiring a VA. That was virtualstafffinder.com. The next one that we've used quite a bit is called Upwork, and that's at upwork.com. We've done some technical, let's say like internet or technology stuff that I don't know how to do, that's way beyond what I know or want to know how to do with people from Upwork. But you can find all kinds of people to do everything from technical internet stuff to answering your phones if you want to go down that road. We have not gone down that road with a virtual assistant that is not in the United States answering our phones. Technically, the person that is our call person could be considered a virtual assistant because we don't have an office and everybody works from home, but we have met that person. We had met with that person prior to hiring them. It's just that, I probably see Claudette maybe every 3rd month or something, maybe, if I get lucky. Then, excuse me, the next thing would be local hiring. So people that you could have on your team that might be able to help you out in the field, or, with all kinds of stuff. I know Julie has a bunch of examples for people that help her out with awesome things that make her life easier so she can focus. And I think that we'll probably do a whole nother podcast on that because it's so cool what she has set up. But when you're looking to find people that are local, we've had some some success with ZipRecruiter.com, and ZipRecruiter is basically just a system for finding a lot of applicants and weeding your way through them. I think we got ZipRecruiter from Sean Terrier, if I am correct. He was recommending that, and we've used it. I also recommend going to meetups and actually meeting people face to face, and you'll find people that have similar interests. So if you go to real estate meetups, you can find people that have really cool backgrounds and skill sets that you could potentially hire to do things for you. And then last but not least is the friends and family stuff. I am a huge advocate of having the person that you're going to hire, meet pass the hangout test. And that just means it's somebody that you want to hang out with and, do stuff
That's
with.
Funny. When Joe and I, when we first started our company together and we were looking to bring people on board after a while, I was all like, coming from a corporate mindset, thinking that way. And you're like, well, let me just ask you, do we want to hang out? Would we want to hang out with them? Like, what do they do? And then it took me about, 3 times and I went, oh yeah, let's just go with that first. Right. And then, then we'll see what else they can offer. I mean, you got to have both sides.
Yep.
But I got to tell you that, we do have a full-time employee. Her name is Claudette. She's our call ninja and our all-around ninja. That she's basically, her nickname would be Bazooka, because give her something to do, she's done in 30 seconds. And we're like, okay, we're not used to that. But I have more fun cracking up with her about stuff. I mean, it is just fun to have teammates. I got to tell you, it is, because I like hanging out with her, and
Yep.
we laugh like crazy, Same with my entire transaction coordination team. I mean, the Instagram, or not Instagram, the Snapchat stuff that flies back and forth, it is some of the hardest I've ever laughed. Let's put it that way. It's good stuff.
Yeah, because you have to ask yourself, right? Like, what are you doing this for? Do you want to have fun with it,
Exactly.
or is it just like, do you want that corporate, really serious kind of scenario? And I'd rather have fun.
You know what happened to me this week? I think you know this already, Joe, but I think it was Monday. On Monday, okay, we have a lot of deals in the pipeline at all the time, right? On Monday, I lost. First, I lost one deal. Then I lost a second deal, and I'm like, God dang it, here we go. I got to get one more out of the way, right? And then I'm waiting for my third bad news for the day, right? In the meantime, people are sending me these stickers, like it's a Monday, all these funny, goofy things. And then in the meantime, Claudette set 3 appointments for the following day on Tuesday. So it was like a death and a rebirth, right? And honestly, that is exactly what happened. And then I think 2 of those appointments kind of were okay. One was great. And then 2 more, I mean, it was just amazing. But the amount of cracking up, I was so mad about one of these deals. I actually got beat out by a big name realtor in town who gave absolutely horrible advice to this seller, who actually was a little bit of a semi-celebrity. So I think that played in the reason of choosing to work with this person. But I mean, that other agent gave absolutely wrong advice. And I was complaining about it to my transaction coordinator, and she came back with this one line zinger to me. And I tried to tell Claudette then, what Leslie, my transaction coordinator, had said. And it literally took me 5 minutes to get it out of my mouth. I was laughing so hard. And I was crying laughing. Right. And the thing is that I could have been mad all day about that, but having my team there and goofing around like that, going back to the hire people you want to hang around with, I didn't even care. I mean, I was so filled with, I love my team, right?
Yep.
That it was a nothing, we just keep moving on, It was funny.
And
I can't repeat it on the air here, because I noticed, Joe, that on our last podcast, I'm not sure why, I must have said something, but you wrote explicit So I'm trying to keep it PG today, guys.
We don't want to have too many explicit ones. And the thing is, I had written that as we were going, I wrote that in the show notes that it was explicit, and then it just kind of stuck with it. And I don't know, there must have been something that was said that was explicit, so I made that mark. But
God, now I got to go back and listen to it. I don't know. I thought there Joe goes. You know what I was thinking? I'm like, he's either a genius because he wrote it on there, and now people are going to listen to it just to hear what the heck I said or you said. Maybe you said it. I don't know.
Yeah, could have been. I don't know. But rather than taking it off, I did think, people are going to look at that.
That's right. Okay, well, I sidetracked you. Sorry.
It's all good.
How awesome it is to have a team, and how hiring your friends and family, as long as they can bring something to the table, is one of the options.
Yep, not a bad idea at all. I mean, the latest person that we've hired, a guy named Tony, I just liked hanging out with him, saw how he worked, and thought he had a cool background, and he's been such a fun guy to work with, and does a great job, and is very attentive and listens, and like Julie said, they have to be able to get stuff done, and you have to make sure that if they're not getting stuff done, that you cut them loose. But it is so cool to have the people around you be fun to work with and be able to get stuff done. So
right. Well, let's tell them we did make a mistake with that once, right?
We did.
So we had somebody on our team who we absolutely loved 100% and still do to this day, but it just was not working out, and we dragged our feet way too long. Yep. So that was a lesson. We won't do that again, right?
Nope. And it's I don't know. It's hard to figure out if like the signs were there before we started working with that person. Yes. But once you have those signs, you should be really quick to communicate with them and see if that's going to be something that continues. And if it is, then just amicably part ways. And just
honestly, you're going to find, guys, everybody listening, you're going to find people that are willing and excited to work with you because, you got something cool going on. It's cool. This is all fun what we're doing here, right? But I think one of the things, you got to look at, is that person going to be able to commit the time necessary if I grow?
Yep.
And I think that's sort of what it came down to for us.
Yeah. Totally right. You got to have
skill set. It was time allocated to the job.
Yep, absolutely. Which makes it even harder, right? Because that person you like them, they can crush it, but there's not enough time in the day.
Right. So. That's why hustle and drive is an absolute skill set, right? Yep. Even though it's not like a contractor or a broker, it's that somebody who has hustle and drive is somebody you guys need to be paying attention to if you can identify them. Totally.
Love it. So moving right along here. The next thing that once you have some success that you get to do is test marketing. And like we mentioned before, you may not be the person that's going to do this. Maybe you hire somebody or find a company to do this for you, but it's time to try and expand your marketing reach and see what can happen. And if you had some direct mail marketing, or you had some marketing tactic that was working before in order to get you to where you are now, then you could just try and do more of that. That's one thing you could definitely do. But now it's the time to step that up and allocate some of that money that you've made into these new things. Some things and some ideas that we've done in the past and that I would recommend checking out are, if you're not doing direct mail, that's definitely our number one source of finding leads, but you can try different things within it. You can try postcards, you can try letters, you can try windows in your letters, you can try all of this interesting stuff to see if it works, because now you have some opportunity to try those things out. You can try different lists, something that we play around with quite frequently. You can try different mail houses. Maybe just the mail house could make a difference, and playing with those little things. Maybe the communication of the mail house is better. Maybe you find that there's a better open rate or response rate with just using a different mail house. You never know. So you may as well try them. You can try Facebook ads. That's a fun one that we've been playing around with lately. And there's all kinds of companies to do this for you. So you don't have to be able to figure out how to do it yourself. And that's one of those things that for me, it would be fun to figure out, but you can only do so much stuff. So I had to let that one go and we found a company to do that for us, because it's just, you can only do so many things. Google Ads or Google AdWords, we tried that for a while, and I recommend it for a lot of people. It wasn't necessarily something that was sustainable in our market, maybe because of the technology push that we have in this area. We just had to spend too much money in order to find a deal. But it's something that you could play around with, allocate 10 grand to it and see if you get a good response rate, see if you get any deals from that. Because if you don't know, that could end up being like a major deal source for you. And I know people around the country where that is a major deal source for them. Once they've figured it out, they can just pump money into that, and that's where they're getting a lot of their leads. You could hire a door knocker or a flyer dropper. Maybe you were the person that was knocking on doors at the start. You were the hustler to find those deals, and you probably still want to hold on to that a little bit if that's where all of your deals were coming from. But it'd be really nice to find somebody that could do that for you, because it's really hard to do a lot of deals if you're the one that's going around knocking on all the doors. So finding somebody that would be good for that. And for that position, I've found, and so far with Julie and I, we've had a hard time finding someone that could be a good, solid person of doing that. But it's not that I don't think it could be done. Maybe we just haven't focused on it quite as much as we should. But be careful when you're hiring these people, and know that there could potentially be a very high turnover rate. So finding somebody that has done it in the past would be something that would be awesome, so they know what they're getting themselves into before they do it. Next up, and this is one that is pretty interesting, because I find a lot of people that get into real estate and they haven't done any deals, they'll want to go out and get themselves a website. And I do not recommend that. I think that it is something that you build, unless you have the talents to build it on the side, and not very much time when you're, at nights and on the weekends yourself. I don't recommend doing it. I'd wait until you hustle and get a few deals, and then hire somebody that can go out and build you a site. And you can find somebody on Upwork.com really easily, build you a great site. And I'm thinking that I could even do a whole podcast on when you're ready to build yourself a website. And maybe people will be interested in hearing that, because I get the question all the time at our investor club about building websites and whatnot. I could do a whole podcast on like steps for you to walk through with how to put together a website, not yourself, not like, tightening the bolts yourself, but actually hiring somebody. There's a process that you as the investor need to go through. You can't just say, hey, build me a website. You could do that, but the chances of you getting something that you want, not going to be very high. So I could walk you through how to hire somebody for that, the questions are that you should be asking, the things that you should be looking at, all of that in order to have a website that will sustain you and potentially down the road get you leads even. So that might be something that would be fun to put into a podcast for those people that are
Let's do it.
Thinking they need a website, Gosh, who needs a website? Because a lot of times people put up these websites and nothing ever happens for them. And the only thing that ever goes to their website is the person that looked at their card and decided to click on it. So,
right. I mean, I would say it is important to have some sort of something you can point to for credibility.
Yeah.
There is some value in that, but definitely when you're getting started, you could simply say, I'm just a private, mom and pop investor. That's a whole, if you need referrals, I can give them to you for sure from some of my past transactions. Say something like that. Just say I'm a mom and pop investor in regards to, where it goes in your priority lineup of building that website. I think eventually, you're going to want to have one, but it doesn't, we're just going to all have to light a fire under Joe here to get that podcast out for you guys. But it isn't the first thing you need to do.
No. And something I would say too is that when you're going to hire somebody for a website, I would probably say it's going to cost between about like $3,000 and $15,000. And I'm not necessarily saying that 15 grand is going to be better than your 3 grand, which is kind of the tricky part. But just know that when you're making money and you're looking to invest in a website, that's where your range is going to be.
And remember, you're like, well, how do I tell people I've done a deal if I'm new? Well, here's the tip. As we've talked about before, one of my big talks, aside from telling everybody to get their real estate license, when you're brand new getting started, the very, very, very best thing you can do is, again, quote, partner with a more experienced investor and get some deals under your belt that way. Then you have a track record to point to on deals, and you can rely on, maybe they have a website or something like that. I think it's, I really do believe the best thing to do is get a mentor and a quote partner that you can bring something to the table. You bring something to the table, whatever that is you can bring, your hustle, some money, your skills, or maybe you're already a broker and you can bring that for some savings and, partner up with somebody. So you then get those deals under your belt. And now you have some credibility you can point to.
Such a good tip. Best tip of the podcast right there. You guys should definitely be looking, if you're new, to partnering up with somebody else.
And that doesn't mean going into a company with them. That just means, on your first few deals, right?
Yep. That means, what's an example of that? They go out and they hustle, they find some deals or a deal, they put it under contract.
And they hand it over to the experienced person and they split 50-50.
There you go.
And don't forget to ask for 50%. Don't chicken out. Okay? Because they need your deal.
Yep.
More than you know.
Yep. And be comfortable. Be okay with giving away that 50%. Don't be greedy. Know that this is going to be one of hundreds of deals that you're going to do. And it doesn't matter. You're just trying to get that experience. You're trying to get that track record. You're trying to get more comfortable. There you go.
You're going to have to continue. Even though you've been through fortune builders or whatever course or guru you've been through, you're going to have continuing education all the time. Even those guys continue their education. The smartest people in the world are constantly, educating themselves. So this 50% you're giving up, which you don't, if you're new, maybe you might lose money, right? So you're either saving yourself from losing money, ideally, maybe, or you're still making money. You're getting paid to learn. How about that?
Totally.
Totes.
Yep. So if you're the newer person that's listening to this podcast, even though we called it Now You've Closed a Few Deals, you probably are still some newbies on here. There you go. There's your tip of the day as someone that maybe hasn't done those few deals to start getting into building websites and doing extra marketing and hiring people. There it is. Just a couple more things here on the podcast. Thinking big days. So now that you've done a couple of deals, make sure that you spend some time. I usually do this on Sunday mornings with a nice cup of coffee. I have a calendar time blocked off for thinking big and weekly review. And it's that time to just kind of sit back and be like, how would I like this to work? And maybe you won't come up with anything. You'll just sit there and drink your coffee and do whatever. But you should allow your brain to start thinking like this, because you never know. It's like, oh, it would be really nice if I had a transaction coordinator. I'd really like it if I just locked up my deal and I handed the paperwork to somebody else and they took over. Or, I'd really like it if I didn't have to do the marketing, and I could just focus on answering the phones and going on the appointments. Or I really would like it if I didn't have to focus on answering the phones and I could just go on the appointments, because I really like meeting with people face to face. So start thinking about how that would look. And you could even get really technical in that, where you're like, it would be really nice if I could press this button and it would make this thing happen. And, whatever. Be okay with thinking really big. And it'd be really nice if I could, do a 100-unit apartment complex.
Right. And then have like your Evernote or whatever, and just drop, label something called Thinking Big Days and drop all your ideas in there, right? And keep track. You don't need to like drop everything and go execute all that stuff. But as you get more time, because you've set up all your systems better and have some teammates to take some of the load off your back, you can circle back to those things. And sometimes when you just put something down on paper like that and save it, you realize later how important it becomes to you because you actually wrote it down, and now you can't stop thinking about how bad you want to get that off your plate.
Totally.
You know?
Totally. Couldn't agree with you more, Julie. Yep. Yeah, write it down. And sometimes the universe starts figuring those things out for you. It's really weird. Like you write something down, and then like a person pops into your life and they're like, hey, I've got a 100-unit apartment complex, or
that happens to me. I swear that happens to me every week. I feel like that whatever is in my mind, I think it happens to everybody. It just appears.
Yep. I think that maybe some people don't recognize it, or they aren't open to seeing it, but like start thinking about that, do your big thinking days, plan a little bit, write down some things that you think would be really cool to have pop into your life, and then just be observant and see if things start to fall into place.
You know what I'm thinking about right now, Joe?
Coffee?
No, but that's a good one because I'm usually thinking about coffee. I was going to say I'm thinking about like a pulled pork sandwich. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm getting hungry, man.
Yeah, me too. Well, I've got one more point or topic here, and then we can run off to get some pulled pork sandwiches, which does sound really good. So this one I want to sneak in at the very end. Hopefully you guys are like, wow, these tips are awesome. We love listening to Julie and Joe. We just want to, go and give them a 5-star review on iTunes, which you can do by going to seattleinvestorsclub.com/iTunes. Because we love everybody that gives us a 5-star review, helps us to get our podcast out there. The last thing that I wanted to talk about today is actually something that can make a huge difference once you start making a little bit of money, and that's your accounting system. And I don't necessarily mean the accounting system like your QuickBooks or your Xero. You should have that set up, when you get started so you know where your money is going. But get the book called Profit First, and this has totally changed our business in it because it allows you to know how much you can spend on certain things like employees and marketing and your operating costs and things like that, and how much you can pay yourself and how much you need for taxes and things. So I wish that I would have had this way back in the day. And even when, I start new little businesses and they're only making $1,000 a month or whatever, I still use this Profit First system because it allows you to have like peace of mind. It allows you to say, I know I can spend this money on trying a Facebook campaign. I know I have enough money for my taxes. I know how much I can write a check for my income this month. So do that. Check it out. It's just a book called Profit First. We'll have Tony put that link in the show notes. There you go, Tony. Put link to Amazon Profit First for us there. And always know where your money is going. So somebody on your ownership team should always be paying attention to where your money is going. I've talked to too many entrepreneurs when I'm just trying to help people out and asking questions about their business, and they have no idea where their money is going. And somebody on the ownership team needs to have their eye on that ball. So do it. It's fun. It's easy to set up. Once you have it set up, it's just super, super simple stuff. But that is what I have for you guys on this podcast of you've done a few deals. Now what? If you want to get some more tips from us on a regular basis, we have a YouTube channel, and that's over at YouTube, believe it or not. And you can get to our channel by just searching for Seattle Investors Club, or we have a super stealth link at seattleinvestorsclub.com/YouTube that will slide you right over to our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with all of the fun stuff that we're sharing on a regular basis. And let's see, is there anything else, Julie?
I'm in pulled pork paralysis right now, Joe. I'm sorry.
Great. I know the feeling. Where are you going to go get pulled pork?
I was either going to go over to, what's it called? It's not called the Viking. It's called, there's some place over on Greenwood Avenue, or I was going to drop maybe over to Bongos, say hi to our friend Matt over there. If you guys haven't been to Bongos over by Green Lake on like Aurora, and I'll say like 63rd not on the Green Lake side, but the other side of Aurora.
Yeah.
Please go there and get the
so
Desi.
Good. It's so good.
It's so good.
So good. Cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, we'd appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes or any review on iTunes, or, let us know what you think we could do better at any time. You can drop that information in the show notes at SeattleInvestorsClub.com/25. SeattleInvestorsClub.com/25.
And I will say, you guys remember that if you are interested in getting more involved with the Seattle Investors Club, we do have meetings once a month on the second Saturday of every month in Renton, at the Renton Technical College. And all they have to do is they can find out, they can get all that info where, Joe?
Just head over to our website, SeattleInvestorsClub.com, and you'll get a fancy pop-up that will pop up and give you a free meeting ticket. And that's all you got to do. And then you'll be on the list and you'll get all the information every single month. It'll be awesome. Super
Sweet.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
All
right. Go get that.
Excellent job, my friend. Very good job today.
Thank you. You too.
Shout out to Joe Bauer, people. That was a good one.
Hope they enjoyed it.
All right.
We will see you guys in the next podcast.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.